What if the deepest and most powerful connections between people are not forged in endless conversation, but in the potent weight of well-chosen words? What if true intimacy and respect grow not in the noise we make, but in the meaningful silence we choose to share? This is the ancient and profound art of saying less to mean more, and today we will learn its secrets. Say less, mean more in relationships, compiled and published by Stoic Power. Lesson 1. Silence as strength. Imagine two bodies of water. The first is a shallow, noisy, babbling brook. It is constantly in motion, splashing over every small rock, its chatter filling the air. It demands attention with its constant sound, but because it is always giving away its content so freely, it remains shallow and can be easily stirred up into a muddy mess. The second body of water is a deep, silent, and vast lake. On its surface, it is calm and still, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. It does not make a sound. Its silence, however, is not a sign of emptiness, but of immense depth, reserve power, and a hidden, thriving ecosystem. The brook gets noticed, but the deep lake is what sustains life. The inner conflict for so many of us in our relationships is that we are conditioned to be the noisy brook. We feel a nervous, almost compulsive need to fill every moment of silence. We talk to prove our worth, to demonstrate our intelligence, to avoid awkwardness, or to try and control the direction of the conversation. We believe that more words equal more connection, more intimacy, more control. The painful and paradoxical problem with this approach is that this compulsive need to speak often has the opposite effect. Our constant stream of chatter can push others away, making us seem insecure, nervous, or self-absorbed. We create a noisy environment where there is no space for the other person to think, to feel, or to share their own deeper thoughts. We inadvertently signal that we are uncomfortable with ourselves and with them, and this erodes trust and intimacy. Furthermore, this habit is profoundly exhausting for us. We are constantly performing, tap dancing with words, trying to manage the other person's perception of us, a battle that is both unwinnable and drains our own inner peace. We become the shallow brook, our own depths lost in the noise we create. The transformative solution is to radically redefine your relationship with silence. It is to stop seeing silence as an absence of connection or a social failure, and to start seeing it as a powerful, sacred space where true connection can finally deepen. It is the courageous act of choosing to be the deep, silent lake. The core idea is that silence in a relationship is not an empty void. It is a fertile ground. The Stoics, particularly those influenced by Pythagorean thought, understood that silence is a discipline of the highest order. It conveys a quiet, unshakable confidence. It shows that you are comfortable with yourself and with the other person, so much so that you don't need to fill every moment with noise. This creates a profound sense of safety and allows the other person to relax and share more openly. Silence is the ultimate sign of respect. It says, I am not just waiting for my turn to talk. I am creating a space for you. The benefit of embracing silence is monumental. You become a better listener, you appear more confident and thoughtful, and your relationships gain a new and profound depth. You conserve your energy and maintain your inner peace, no longer feeling the need to perform. The actionable step to begin this practice is what we can call the comfortable silence exercise. In your next conversation with a loved one, a friend, or a colleague, make a conscious effort to do one simple thing. When there is a natural pause in the conversation, intentionally allow it to last for 5 to 10 seconds longer than you normally would. Resist the powerful urge to jump in and fill it. During this pause, simply maintain calm, open body language. Keep gentle eye contact. Breathe. See what happens. The other person will often fill the space with something deeper and more thoughtful than they would have otherwise. By consistently practicing this, you are retraining your nervous system. You are teaching yourself that silence is not a threat, but a tool for connection. You will notice that your own anxiety decreases and the quality of your conversations improves dramatically. You will start to feel the quiet strength of the deep lake. I urge you to try this practice today. See it not as an awkward pause, but as a powerful invitation for deeper connection. a continuous process of becoming a more grounded and present person. Silence creates the space, but what we choose to put into that space is what matters most. How do we ensure the words we do speak have power and meaning? Our next lesson is on the power of thoughtful words. Before we move on, please subscribe to the Stoic Power channel to commit to this journey of deep and meaningful communication. Lesson 2. The power of thoughtful words. Imagine a master jeweler sitting at his workbench. A client has asked him to create a magnificent piece of jewelry. The jeweler does not simply grab a bucket of common stones and throw them at a piece of metal. Instead, he carefully, patiently, and expertly examines hundreds of gems. He is looking for the perfect one, the one with the right clarity, the right color, and the right cut. When he finds it, he sets it with precision and care, creating a masterpiece whose beauty comes from the singular quality of that one perfect stone. Now imagine someone else who just scatters a handful of common, unrefined pebbles onto a table. The effect is cluttered, cheap, and meaningless. The inner conflict we face in our communication is whether to be the master jeweler or the stone scatterer. The painful problem is that most of us are stone scatterers. We use a high volume of careless, unthinking, and low-value words in our daily interactions. We fill our conversations with complaints, gossip, criticisms, filler words, and pointless chatter. This constant stream of verbal pebbles devalues our communication entirely. When we do have something important to say, a sincere apology, a declaration of love, a crucial piece of advice, it gets lost in the noise. Our words of gold are buried under a mountain of pebbles, and they lose their impact. Our communication becomes shallow, and we are not taken as seriously as we would like. The transformative solution is to begin treating our words as a precious, limited resource, like the master jeweler treats his gems. It is the discipline of choosing to speak less, but ensuring that every word we do speak is selected with intention, care, and purpose. The core idea is rooted in the deep Stoic emphasis on reasoned and purposeful speech. The Stoic philosopher Zeno famously said that we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so we may listen twice as much as we speak. This implies that speech should be reserved for that which is truly valuable. A high-value person understands that fewer, well-chosen, and meaningful words have infinitely more impact than a torrent of thoughtless ones. Their words are like carefully selected gems, each one carrying weight and significance. The benefit of adopting this mindset is that your personal influence and the respect you command will grow exponentially. People will begin to listen carefully when you speak, because they will learn that your words are not noise. They are signals of value. Your relationships will deepen because your communication will be more sincere, more focused, and more impactful. You will feel a greater sense of integrity and self-respect, knowing you are no longer contributing to the world's meaningless noise. The actionable step to cultivate this skill is to practice the word economy exercise. For 1 full day, make a conscious effort to use approximately 20% fewer words than you normally would in all your interactions. This constraint will force you to be more precise and thoughtful. Before you speak, you will have to ask yourself, is this truly necessary to say? What is the most essential way to communicate this idea? You will have to cut out the filler, the complaining, the repeating of stories. It will feel strange at first, but it is a powerful training exercise in verbal discipline. By practicing this word economy, you will become a more mindful and deliberate communicator. You will start to notice just how many of your words are habitual and unnecessary. You will learn the power of precision and the impact of well-chosen brevity. I challenge you to try this exercise tomorrow. Become the master jeweler of your own words, selecting each one with care. This practice will make your words more powerful, but their power can be distorted if they are delivered through a fog of emotion. How do we achieve emotional clarity before we speak? That is the subject of our next lesson. If you believe in the power of thoughtful communication, please like this video to help spread this important message. Lesson 3. Emotional clarity in relationships. Imagine you are trying to look at a beautiful, detailed landscape through a large window. On a clear day, the glass is clean and transparent, and you can see the landscape with perfect clarity, appreciating every detail. But on a cold, humid day, the window pane becomes covered in a thick, distorting fog. Your view is obscured. You can only make out vague shapes and colors, and you might misinterpret what you are seeing entirely. In our relationships, our emotional state is the window pane through which we communicate. The inner conflict we face is our tendency to try and have our most important conversations when the window of our mind is completely fogged up. The painful problem is that when we attempt to communicate from a state of intense emotional turmoil, when we are consumed by anger, hurt, anxiety, or resentment, we cannot see the other person clearly, and they cannot see us. The fog of our emotions distorts their words and intentions, and it scrambles our own. We misinterpret their tone, we assume the worst, and we express ourselves in clumsy, reactive, and often hurtful ways. These conversations almost always lead to misunderstanding, escalation, and further conflict, leaving both people feeling more disconnected and hurt than before. We are essentially trying to navigate a complex landscape with a foggy, unreliable map, which only gets us more lost. The transformative solution is to adopt the critical discipline of cleaning the window pane, of achieving a state of emotional clarity within ourselves before we engage in any important communication. The core Stoic idea is that the very first step to being understood by others is to deeply understand yourself. We cannot communicate clearly what we do not clearly feel and think. The Stoics were masters of introspection, constantly practicing the art of examining their own impressions and judgments before accepting them as truth. They knew that raw emotion is a poor guide to wise action and speech. Emotional clarity means taking the time to separate the objective event from the subjective story we are telling ourselves about it, and from the raw feeling that story produces. The benefit of this practice is that it prevents countless unnecessary arguments and misunderstandings. You enter important conversations from a place of calm, centered clarity, able to express your needs and hear the other person's perspective without the distorting fog of reactivity. This de-escalates conflict before it even begins and builds a foundation of trust and psychological safety in your relationships. The actionable step to cultivate this is the pre-conversation check-in. Before you initiate or enter into a potentially difficult conversation, take 5 minutes alone. Take out a journal and quickly answer these 3 questions. 1. What specific emotion am I feeling right now? Name it. Anger, fear, sadness, etc. 2. What objective fact triggered this emotion? And what subjective story am I telling myself about this fact? E.g., fact, my partner forgot our anniversary. Story, they don't love me anymore and our relationship is doomed. 3. What is my desired virtuous outcome for this conversation? E.g., to express my hurt clearly and calmly, and to understand their perspective. This simple check-in acts like a powerful defogging agent for the mind. It allows you to see the situation with clarity, to separate fact from fear, and to set a positive, constructive intention for the conversation. You will enter the dialogue as a calm collaborator, not a reactive combatant. I urge you to make this a non-negotiable practice before any important conversation. Never enter the storm while you are the storm. Once we have this inner clarity, how do we maintain it during the conversation itself, especially when the other person is emotional? Our next lesson is on the art of responding with wisdom, not emotion. Please comment below and share how this idea of a foggy window resonates with your own experience. Lesson 4. Responding with wisdom, not emotion. Imagine 2 diplomats representing their nations in a tense, high-stakes negotiation. The first diplomat is hot-headed and insecure. When the other side presents a challenging argument or a criticism, he takes it as a personal insult. He reacts immediately and defensively. His face flushes with anger. He raises his voice and he launches a counterattack, trying to win the point. This escalates the tension and leads to a complete breakdown in communication. The second diplomat is a master of their craft. When faced with the exact same challenging argument, they remain perfectly calm. They listen intently, their expression neutral and thoughtful. They do not see it as a personal attack, but as new information to be considered. Their calm, reasoned response de-escalates the tension and keeps the negotiation moving toward a productive solution. The inner conflict in our relationships is that in moments of disagreement or criticism, we almost always act like the first diplomat. The painful problem is that our ego is incredibly sensitive. When our partner, friend, or family member says something that we perceive as a criticism, our immediate, instinctual reaction is to defend ourselves. We are driven by the hurt, the fear of being wrong, and the desire to protect our self-image. This turns a simple conversation into a battle. We stop listening to understand and start listening only for an opportunity to counterattack. This defensive, emotional reactivity is the single greatest destroyer of healthy communication and intimacy. It makes productive conflict resolution impossible. The transformative solution is to train ourselves to be the second diplomat, to master the art of creating a sacred space between the stimulus of another's words and our own response, allowing us to choose wisdom over emotional reaction. The core Stoic idea that empowers this is, once again, the dichotomy of control, applied specifically to conversation. The other person's words, their emotions, their opinions, and their perceptions are all external to us. They are completely outside of our direct control. The only thing in the entire universe that is within our control is our own response. The Stoic warrior focuses relentlessly on making that response virtuous, calm, and wise, regardless of the provocation. They refuse to surrender the keys to their emotional state to someone else. The benefit of this practice is that you become an emotional leader in your relationships. You have the power to de-escalate any conflict simply by refusing to participate in the drama. Your calm becomes a powerful, positive influence, creating a safe space for the other person to calm down as well. You build immense respect because you are seen as someone who is unflappable, thoughtful, and mature. The actionable step to cultivate this skill is the acknowledge and pause technique. The next time you are in a conversation and someone says something challenging, critical, or emotionally charged, your first move is not to defend yourself. Your first move is to use a neutral, acknowledging phrase. This can be as simple as, "Okay, I hear what you're saying," or "Thank you for telling me that," or "That's an interesting point." This phrase is not an agreement. It is simply a signal that you have received the information. Then, immediately after, take one slow, deliberate breath. This is your pause. This is your space. In that 1-second pause, you give your rational mind a chance to catch up to your emotional reaction. You can then choose a response that serves the relationship, rather than one that serves your wounded ego. This technique is a game changer. It will feel unnatural at first, but with practice, it will become your default setting. I challenge you to try the acknowledge and pause technique in your very next challenging conversation. Respond, don't react. Responding wisely requires us to be patient, to allow the other person the space to speak fully. How do we cultivate this deep, respectful patience? Our next lesson will explore the art of cultivating patience in conversations. To support our channel, please consider sharing this video with someone you think would benefit from this powerful communication tool. Lesson 5. Cultivating patience in conversations. Imagine a patient, master fisherman sitting quietly in his boat on a serene lake. He has cast his line and now he waits. He does not constantly yank the line. He does not shout at the fish to bite. He does not get frustrated by the waiting. He understands that fishing is an art of patience. He remains still, observant, and ready, knowing that frantic, impatient energy will only scare the fish away. Now imagine an impatient fisherman in the boat next to him. He is constantly reeling in his line to check the bait, splashing the water, sighing with frustration, and creating a disruptive, anxious energy all around him. He never catches anything. The inner conflict for many of us is that we are the impatient fishermen in our conversations. The painful problem is that we are often terrible listeners because we are so profoundly impatient. We are so busy formulating our own brilliant reply in our heads that we interrupt the other person. We finish their sentences for them, and we fail to truly hear the deeper meaning behind their words. This conversational impatience, while common, is deeply disrespectful. It makes the other person feel invalidated, unimportant and unheard. It shuts down open and honest communication because they learn that there is no real space for them to express themselves fully without being cut off. It is a form of conversational selfishness that damages trust and prevents true intimacy from ever developing. The transformative solution is to embrace the Stoic virtue of patience and to apply it consciously to our conversations, seeing deep listening not as a passive act, but as a powerful and respectful form of action. The core idea is a fundamental shift in your conversational priority. The impatient person's primary goal is to be understood or to be right. The patient, Stoic listener's primary goal is to understand. This shift is everything. Patience in this context is the active discipline of quieting your own inner monologue and directing the full force of your attention onto the other person. It is a form of hospitality for another person's thoughts and feelings. The benefit of cultivating this patience is immense. You will gain a much deeper and more accurate understanding of the people in your life. You will avoid countless misunderstandings. Most importantly, you will make the other person feel profoundly seen, heard, and respected, which is one of the greatest gifts you can give another human being. This builds incredible trust, intimacy, and connection in all of your relationships. The actionable step to build this muscle is the no interruption challenge. For your next 1 or 2 significant conversations, make a firm, private commitment to yourself that you will not interrupt the other person for any reason. Let them finish their thought completely, even if they pause for a few seconds. Even if you think you know what they are going to say. Even if you vehemently disagree with what they are saying. Your entire job is to listen until they have signaled that they are completely finished. Only then are you allowed to speak. This exercise will be surprisingly difficult. It will reveal just how ingrained the habit of interruption is. But by practicing it, you are forcing yourself to become a true listener. You are training your mind to prioritize understanding over speaking. I urge you to try the No Interruption Challenge this week. See it as a powerful form of meditative practice. Patience allows us to hear the words, but how do we ensure we understand the meaning behind them before we respond? Our next lesson is on the crucial skill of understanding before speaking. If you are committed to becoming a more patient and respectful listener, please subscribe to the Stoic Power channel. Lesson 6. Understanding before speaking. Picture a wise and experienced doctor meeting with a new patient. The patient describes a single symptom, perhaps a headache. A foolish and arrogant doctor might immediately prescribe a powerful medicine based on that one piece of information, without any further questions. A wise and effective doctor, however, would do the opposite. She would see the headache as merely a starting point. She would then proceed to ask a series of thoughtful, clarifying questions, seeking to understand the root cause of the problem. When did it start? What does it feel like? What makes it worse? What other symptoms are you experiencing? She knows that a correct prescription depends entirely on a correct diagnosis, and a correct diagnosis depends on deep understanding. The inner conflict we face in our relationships is that we are all too often the foolish doctor. The painful problem is that we frequently jump to conclusions. We make assumptions, and we offer unsolicited advice or premature judgments before we have even come close to fully understanding the other person's situation, thoughts, or feelings. Someone tells us about a problem, and we immediately launch into, "You should," or "If I were you." We hear a complaint, and we immediately defend ourselves against what we assume they mean, rather than what they are actually saying. This habit, while often well-intentioned, is a subtle form of arrogance. It invalidates the other person's experience and communicates that we are more interested in giving our own opinion than in understanding theirs. It shuts down connection and makes the other person feel deeply misunderstood. The transformative solution is to adopt the mindset of the wise doctor. To make understanding your primary, non-negotiable goal in any important conversation. The core idea combines the wisdom of Zeno, 2 ears, 1 mouth, with the genius of the Socratic method. The wisest person in the room is often not the one with all the answers, but the one who asks the best questions. The Stoics believed in the power of reason, and reason requires accurate information. Rushing to judgment on incomplete information is a failure of reason. Therefore, a key part of Stoic communication is the discipline of inquiry. The art of using questions to achieve clarity before forming a judgment or offering a response. The benefit is that your relationships become characterized by a much deeper level of mutual understanding. You avoid countless arguments that are based on simple misunderstandings. People will feel safe coming to you with their problems because they know you will listen to understand, not just to judge or to fix. This builds profound intimacy and trust. The actionable step to practice this is to master the clarifying question. For 1 week, make it your goal to respond to any significant statement from a loved one, not with your own opinion or advice, but with a question designed to deepen your understanding. These questions can be simple and powerful. Examples include, "Can you tell me more about that? How did that make you feel? What's the hardest part about that for you?" Another powerful technique is reflective listening. "What I think I'm hearing you say is rephrase their point in your own words. Is that right?" This practice forces you to slow down and shifts the focus of the conversation from you to them. It is an act of deep respect. You will be amazed at how much more you learn and how much more connected you feel when you prioritize diagnosis over prescription. I challenge you to make clarifying questions your primary mode of response in your conversations this week. Be the water. We have now learned to create connection through silence, listening, and understanding. How do we put it all together to create real depth with fewer, more powerful words? Our final lesson will explore this art. If this has been valuable, please comment below on how asking more questions might change your relationships. Lesson 7. Creating depth with fewer words. Imagine 2 sounds in a quiet temple. The first is the chaotic, meaningless clatter of 100 small, tinny bells being shaken all at once. The noise is distracting, shallow, and quickly becomes an irritation. The second sound is that of a single, large, perfectly cast bronze bell being struck once with a wooden mallet. The sound is clear, deep, and powerful. It resonates through the entire temple, creating a feeling of profound peace and significance that lingers long after the initial strike. The final inner conflict we face is our mistaken belief that the path to connection is the clatter of the 100 tinny bells. The painful problem is our assumption that more words equal more intimacy, more meaning, and more connection. In an effort to feel closer, we often over-explain, we overshare, we fill every available space with nervous chatter, and we repeat ourselves endlessly. This torrent of words, however well-intentioned, often has the opposite effect. It dilutes our meaning. It overwhelms the listener. It creates a shallow, surface-level interaction where the truly important things are lost in the noise. We are trying to create the deep resonance of the single bronze bell by frantically shaking a bag of tin ones. The transformative solution is the final synthesis of all the previous lessons we have explored. To use the power of silence, thoughtfulness, emotional clarity, patience, and deep understanding to make every single word you speak count. It is the art of creating profound depth and meaning with fewer, more powerful words. The core idea is that true intimacy and respect in a relationship are built on the quality, not the sheer quantity, of communication. A single, sincere, well-timed, and thoughtful sentence can be infinitely more powerful and connective than an hour of mindless, anxious talk. This final lesson is not about learning a new technique, but about integrating all the others. When you have cultivated comfort in silence, lesson 1. When you have learned to choose your words with care, lesson 2. When you approach conversations with emotional clarity, lesson 3. When you respond with wisdom instead of reaction, lesson 4. When you listen with deep patience, lesson 5. And when you seek to understand before speaking, lesson 6. The natural result is that you will speak less, but every word you utter will have the resonant power of the temple bell. The benefit is that your communication becomes incredibly potent. Your presence feels more grounded and substantial. Your relationships will be characterized by a deep, quiet, and powerful sense of connection and mutual understanding that does not require constant chatter to be maintained. You will feel more at peace, knowing that you are communicating from a place of depth and integrity. The actionable step to practice this is the essential phrase exercise. In your next deep conversation with a loved one, after you have listened with full patience and sought to understand, resist the urge to deliver a long monologue. Instead, try to distill your entire response into a single essential phrase that conveys either pure understanding, sincere support, or your core feeling. For example, after they have shared a long and difficult story, instead of a long analysis, your essential phrase might be, "That sounds incredibly difficult, and I am here for you." Or if you need time, "Thank you for sharing that with me. I need some time to think about it properly." This practice forces you to find the absolute heart of the matter. It is the final expression of a disciplined, focused, and loving mind. I encourage you to try to find the essential phrase in your next important interaction. Strive to be the temple bell, not the bag of tin. This is the ultimate path to saying less, but meaning more. We have journeyed through the 7 arts of Stoic communication, from embracing the profound strength of silence to creating deep resonance with fewer, more meaningful words. This path teaches us that the greatest connections are built not on the volume of our speech, but on the depth of our listening, the wisdom of our thoughts, and the integrity of the words we finally choose to speak. Thank you for taking this time to explore this powerful philosophy with us. If this video has served you on your journey, please like this video, comment with your greatest insight, and subscribe to the Stoic Power channel to continue building a life of depth, wisdom, and meaningful connection.